Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator, actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. The slacking manager. Shion-san, why don't you help out a little? Are you asking a girl to carry something heavy? This is why you still haven't found a nice lady your age, coach. Well, you see at times like these. Here's what people say, it's none of your business. Ah ha 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 ha. He was loading the station wagon with heaps of equipment we'd use for today's barbecue meeting. All the fathers and sons who had helped were starting to get on their way. All right, so Shion-san, why did you come all the way here? If you rode here on your bike, I can give you a lift. I did, but I'll be fine riding back. I appreciate your consideration. I was glad you came today. Things don't quite fit together without the manager here. Am I still the manager? I've been shirking my duty for an entire year, so maybe you should just fire such an incompetent manager already. All right, if you say you want to quit, then I'll fire you whenever you want. Grr. That's not fair. Let me go soon, please? Every time I don't show up at a game, I get an annoying phone call, and I can't stand those. If you were more honest with yourself, Shion-chan, you'd be far cuter. Your father is so sad. Where did he go so wrong as to deserve such a rebellious daughter? Oh, perhaps if your father catches you in a big, loving embrace, you'll open your eyes? Well, then don't mind if I do. Come here. Coach was fooling around with all his might, but Shion just smiled into the distance without responding. Nothing's changed. You're still a weirdo, Coach, and everyone's still lively as ever. Even though Satoshi-kun isn't here. Is that what you wanted to say? He'll come home. Oh, that makes sense. So, Shion actually wanted to be involved as manager. But her main reason for wanting to be there was Satoshi. Because after all, even though Satoshi wasn't athletic, it's just when Satoshi left, not only did she lose her interest in being there, but also it became too painful. He'll come home, I'm sure of it. He has someone waiting for him. Hemp. Say whatever you want. He sure is cruel, isn't he? Going off to who knows where, leaving such a cute girlfriend behind. Heh. Girlfriend? Who? Who? Huh? Ha ha ha. Jeez. Quit laughing already, Coach. Ha ha ha, wah ha ha ha. Coach bent over and laughed heartily for a while. We'll see each other again. Please come and root for us once in a while, okay? If I feel like it. I have no desire to be the manager anymore after all. That's fine. If you don't like it, I'll fire you. I'm not the kind of person who likes forcing people to do things against their will. Grr. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. You win this round. If I feel like it, I'll come root for you. So for today, just be patient. Hoo-hoo. Whoops. That time already. It's past time to return all this. I'm already making them wait for me. I'll be leaving for today then. Let's meet again at the next game. Yes, if I feel like it. Goodbye, Coach. How would you guys feel if, like, Shadow of War with Talion, the Lord of the Rings game, or Halo, or Assassin's Creed was like in the style of Higurashi? Copy of the preliminary autopsy. The autopsy suggests the victim was killed in the following manner. Entire body bound in restraints. Traces left behind when the body seemed to have been bound indicated usage of a specific restraining table rather than rope or another common method. Finger joints on either hand appear to have been bound especially tight. Highly likely the table is either specially made or homemade given this information. Both ears and nose severed with a sharp blade. Traces of the restraint and other things seem to suggest there was at least one more other than the one who severed these body parts holding down the victim's head. Possible that multiple blades were used, with one of them most likely being scissors or shears. 5 nails penetrated fingers on each hand. 1 long nail stuck in each joint of each finger on each hand for a total of 30. The deceased fingers were nailed to wooden planks 20 square centimeters large. Extremely likely these planks were part of the restraining table. In addition, it is likely the table was originally designed for just such a purpose. Abdomen incised, intestines removed. The incision in the abdomen is likely to have been a technique grounded in medical methodology, using a sharp blade. Estimated that there was still no threat to the victim's life at this stage. After this, the organs inside the incision were dismantled and removed. The victim likely died as a result of the process. Body disposed. After fastening a dumbbell to the victim's neck, using a commercial pet collar, the victim was likely abandoned in the Oiji River, 3rd drain. Judging by the dumbbell's weight, it's highly possible they would have needed at least 3 grown men to have disposed of the body. To Oishi-san, here's a copy of the preliminary autopsy of the slaughtered corpse in the Oiji River. Chief Shigeharu sees this as having a possible relation to the S group, Sonozakis. What are your thoughts, Oishi-san? East, round 3. No. There it is, Ron. 3 Chun, 3 Dora Mongon with 15. I have no idea what any of that. I assume it's food. What? What's up with that? How do you have 3 Dora? You idiot. You're the one who flipped another Condor when you knew Oshi was in Tenpai. Was this like shogi or something? I don't know. Or mahjong? That's what you get. Getting more Dora was the only thing I could do after revealing the tune. You can't discard a Dora tile after a Yukahai is out. What the fuck? Oishi grinned meaningfully as his buddy's swearing began breaking down the walls and reforming them. By the way, Oishi-san, figure it out yet? What? Oh, the murdered body in the drainage channel. Any new clues? Come up? Yes, well, you are the one collecting the evidence here. I should have expected that. Who was the deceased? Rina Mamiya. Actual name, Noriko. Apparently she worked for the Blue Mermaid, a hostess bar on Shishibone Flower Road. Oh wow, that place, huh? A young leader of the Sonozakis owns it, huh? Yeah. Sonozaki, whoops, so it's related to the S group. That mountain will be tough to scale. Rumors say the deceased had their hands in both drug dealing and money to be paid to the government. And on a pretty significant scale, too, from what I've heard. A woman getting her hands on Yakuza tax money. Sounds like a man's behind it. Not a lot of women do that sort of thing themselves. Well, she's dead now. The dead can't have anything to do with it. About that, Oishi-san. Her man's apparently alive. Alive? Then maybe he'll die soon. Vermin usually exterminate other vermin. I think we have a very nice self-cleaning system going on. Anyway, her man, it's, well, Teppei Hojo. Hojo? Who's that? Teppei Hojo, the husband of the housewife who was beaten to death last year in Hinamizawa. I heard he disappeared after the incident, though. I get it, he was staying at his lover's place, huh? And so the Zonazakis grow ever more suspicious. Where is he now? He was living in a woman's apartment. He must have thought she abandoned him. So, he's been searching around shops and other gathering places. Morning, Keiichi. My, what time do you go to sleep? I did not sleep well last night, at all. My mother could tell from a single glance. I had the worst dreams, nightmares, very ominous dreams, one after the other, again and again. I woke up after each one, but could never even remember a fraction of what they had been about. But it was like those dreams were predicting something unpleasant, and I woke up in a terrible mood. Hey now, every day has been calm and fun before today, right? Those days should continue on, unchanging. And yet, anxiety was the only emotion growing within me. Why was that? Nightmares reflect your own anxiety. They show an uneasy mind, that which you wouldn't admit to normally. Yesterday, I remember the ominous conversations about Satoshi I had with Shion, Mion, and Rena. Right. My mind felt like it was in a black fog, because we had talked about that. If I had lived every day without causing a fuss, my reward would be ever more peaceful days. I understood that, so why did I cause such discord? But now that I thought about it calmly, a simple verbal slip on my part couldn't possibly change the world. And even if it did, it's not your fault. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with what you said, Keiichi. That was not a verbal slip, that was just normal conversation. They're the ones who overreacted. Yeah, as long as I'm sorry for doing it and never talk about it again, there's nothing that anyone can blame me for, right? Yes, exactly. Besides, how would my fate possibly change just because I talked about that? Nothing was going to change, yeah. Nothing would change, nothing would change, nothing would change. Ha ha ha. Ha. That's a creepy smile. If you're still half asleep, then go wash your face. I'd finally cheered up enough to smile, and Mom slapped me right back down. Now I was irritated again. There wasn't much time left before I had to meet up with Rena. I frantically started to get ready to go to school. Have a good day. Watch out for cars. There's barely any cars to watch out for in Hinamizawa anyway. I dashed out the front door. The morning air was far more refreshing than the water on my face. That's right, Keiichi Mabra. If you're sorry enough about it and reflect upon your mistakes, that's enough. One, yeah, we shouldn't talk about it anymore, but it was not a mistake and it's nothing to be sorry about. We're sorry that people had to go through things that made them feel bad, and I'm sorry that the conversation made them uncomfortable, but it was still something I needed to know about, and there's no way I would have known not to broach the subject without knowing about it in the first place. Also, even if Rena was in the trees watching me and Mia and be like, oh, you didn't actually go get Manga, you lied. She has no reason or right to be angry about that. Also, it's kind of creepy if you do that. That's enough. Now let's pull yourself together and get to school, and return to fun, enjoyable days, where everyone laughs and plays and just has a good time. I'll be nice to Satoko as an apology too. Yeah, we didn't even say anything to Satoko. Wasn't I supposed to be her needy until Satoshi got back? Good morning, Keiichi-kun. Rena, too, looked nothing like she had yesterday when she had said that weird stuff. If I could only forget, then I could still act like nothing had happened. So I called out to her with all the energy I could muster. Hey! Morning, Rena! Early as usual today? Morning! Good morning! There was still time before the same old morning homeroom began, but Satoko and Rika-chan were unusually absent. Maybe they went to play somewhere? However, looking over and seeing none of their things, so it looked like they really hadn't come to school. They're almost never late. Rena seemed to be enjoying herself, thinking about what their excuse for being late would be. Mion said something nonsensical as well, imagining how funny the reason they were late must have been. I had only come to school to see their energetic faces, since I figured I would get rid of these feelings I have, but the load on my chest remained where it was. It wasn't very pleasant at all. Good morning, everyone. President, if you would. Everybody stand up. Our teacher finally arrived, and then finally I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps running down the hall. Clatter. Rika-chan was the first to run through the open door, and then Satoko didn't come. You're late, Furude-san. Where's Hojo-san? It was unusual for Rika-chan to be late, but equally unusual for Satoko, a ball of energy, to be absent at all. Everyone's eyes were wide as the series of strange events. Satoko might be a little bit late. Has she come down with something? The teacher walked over to Rika-chan, and they started talking in hushed tones. Ah, Rika-chan is late. Satoko's absent. I guess crazy things can happen. You're right. But I wonder what happened to Satoko-chan. Is she sick? Why now, when I most wanted to see Satoko's energetic face? The unease that had been building since last night tightened within my chest. Kei-chan, you worry too much. Sometimes girls of her age can't help but stay homesick. Cuckoo. Mi-chan, you're not supposed to say that around boys. Mion laughed indecently. Normally I would laugh along with her, but right now, I just didn't feel like it. Homeroom ended, and we went to talk to Rika-chan in the short time we had before first period started. Hey, Rika-chan? You looked so sad, so very sad when getting yelled at for being late. I'll make sure to pet you today. I was very aware of my gloom this morning, so I strove to keep my tone cheerful. I patted Rika-chan's head the same way she always did, but she didn't cheer up at all. Meep. What happened to Satoko? Did she get sick? For instance, she got a fever for playing around too much yesterday? If that had been her response, I would have accepted it in a flash. But the atmosphere around Rika-chan felt somewhat heavy. It was like a little weird, and actually made me uneasy a little worse. Hey, come on, come on. There are certain things you can't talk to boys about. Kei-chan, back to your seat, back to your seat. Mion, acting just like club president, pulled me back to my chair. Rika-chan's gaze immediately fell back to her desk, and she hung her head gloomily. Rika-chan had done something odd, and Satoko might be a little late. They were living together, weren't they? Then she would have known for sure. She wouldn't have said might. I didn't understand why she was absent, and that made me all the more anxious. Damn it, what's going on today? It's like we started off on the wrong foot, and it wasn't going to get any better. What's the matter, Keiichi-kun? You seem pretty down this morning. Brenda noticed how I looked and whispered to me while the teacher wasn't looking. Do I really seem that way? Yeah, even Rena is starting to feel down just looking at you. I thought of jokingly saying that don't look at me, but I didn't even feel like doing that. Is it something you can tell Rena? I don't know what you're worried about, but if I can help, then you can tell me, okay? I won't tease you. Rena said this looking me straight in the eye. Until yesterday, nothing strange had happened, and it was a lot of fun. Huh? Rena's eyes widened for a moment, not understanding what I meant, but she remained silent and listened. It was peaceful and fun. Every day was lively. I never had any doubts things would stay that way forever. Yeah, you're right. Every day is fun. I'm sure today will be too. You're sure? How do you know? Well... Rena felt feeling perplexed. Couldn't think of something to say. I didn't blame her. What I was trying to say seemed a little confusing, even to me. When I think about it, I've been anxious lately. Like maybe since every day is fun, one day all of a sudden it would get really dark, like a light bulb turned off. Yeah, Rena kind of understands how you feel. Rena nodded gently. We've always been taught that it wouldn't only be good things happening to us. Sometimes I'm scared of what's going on behind the fun. It's a little bit sad, but because of that, we learned how to do our best to make sure that the fun never stops. I see. So it's not a bad thing that you think our fun lives might not go on forever, Keiichi-kun. Kinda like if suddenly there was a volcanic eruption tomorrow and everyone died? Hey, wait, that's terrible. If you were the only one who survived the catastrophe, Keiichi-kun, how would you feel? How would I? I imagine myself being the sole survivor in the ruins of Hinamizawa, rubble and the bodies of friends lying in heaps at my feet. To be fair, there wouldn't be anything left of their bodies because of the lava. It was such an abhorrent sight. Was it sadder than that all my friends had died, or was it sadder that I couldn't have died with them? I didn't know which, but I'd probably cry a lot. It'd probably break my heart. First, I think I'd cry. And then maybe you would think this? If this is my destiny, then I should have made sure every day before this is as fun as possible, so I had no regrets. I didn't want to consider such a horrible event to be my destiny. But I probably would think that. The fun times will end one day, and nobody knows when they will. It makes sense to live each day to the fullest, so that if it doesn't happen tomorrow, you don't regret anything. Yeah. It's really hard to think like that. A lot of people take their everyday happiness for granted. They think tomorrow will be the same as today, so they leave things that they could do today for tomorrow. They leave the kindness that they could have shown today until tomorrow. Rena was usually cheerful and silly, but right now she wasn't like that at all. She was taking my troubles seriously. It was a little reassuring. But Keiichi-kun, you realized it. I think that's a wonderful thing. So that unease you have, I think you should keep it close to your heart. Keep my unease close? Yes. Everyone might die tomorrow in a big catastrophe, so you should be really nice to everyone today. So when the end really does come, you don't regret it. Do you do that, Rena? Live like you would have no regrets if everyone died tomorrow? Yep. It was such a hyperbolic conversation. But Rena just gave me a nonchalant nod of her head. Rena knows what it's like for the fun times to end overnight. She knows there's no proof tomorrow will be fun, even if today is. I'm living life to the fullest. It seemed like Rena perfectly understood all the anxiety I couldn't put into words. It also seems like she's starting to struggle to maintain her composure. And on top of that, like a reliable teacher, she showed me what to do. Oh, hey, Keiichi Mabura, there's no need to cry now. Last night, I feel like I had a dream about Satoko. I don't remember what kind of dream it was, but ever since this morning I felt anxious. Because you thought seeing Satoko-chan's energetic face would cheer you up. She was right on the money. If everyone had been here with smiles on their faces this morning, then the murk Then, if Satoko-chan arrives, you'll have to be nice to her. Actually, it's totally fine if you play your usual pranks on each other, as long as you're having fun. Yeah, you're right. So that even if these fun days come to an end, I'd have no regrets. I couldn't tell if what Rena told me had been comforting or just made me more anxious, but it was enough to make me think that if I saw Satoko again, I'd be honest with her. Lunchtime arrived, with everyone pushing their desks together like always. Satoko wasn't here. Despite that, we had bento boxes for the 5 lined up on our desk. Riga-chan had made a bento for Satoko, too. Was Satoko supposed to be here before lunch? Riga-chan was clearly acting strangely. We were talking to her, but it felt like she was too far away to hear us. I'd never seen Rika-chan so downcast, so the rest of us started feeling down too. Hey, Rena? I understood what she had said before pretty well. When we were together, we were supposed to have lots of fun, so we wouldn't have any regrets if the world ended tomorrow. And yet, while I'd just resolved myself to do it, now we can't all be together? What the hell? because it was just so sudden, wasn't it? I mean, yesterday was fun, so who could believe it would all end today? No volcanoes had erupted, no earthquakes or fires had happened either. The cicadas were making the same noises they did yesterday, and the sun remained bright in the sky. It was the same normal day as always, so then, why? As I pondered, Rena's chopsticks reached in front of my face and stole the fried chicken out of my bento. If no one else wants it, Rena will take it. Delicious. Rena tossed the entire piece in her mouth and began munching on it, her expression one of bliss. Tish, I'm such an old man. Rena got a leg up on me. All right, this old man's taking this bit of steak here. Meep. All my food is gone except my rice. Rika-chan, also behind the curve, smiled again and went for someone else's bento. As I sat there dazed how quickly everyone had changed, Rena sent a wink over to me. Come on, Keiichi-kun, live life to the fullest. That's the way the volcano erupts tomorrow. It'll be okay. This is serious. I'll be damned if dried plums and rice are the only things I have left for lunch. I'm taking that meatball. I stuffed the meat in my mouth and constructed a clumsy smile. I played along as if trying to fool myself, but as I did it, rapidly became less and less of an act. Satoko still wasn't here, but at some point we had regained our lively lunchtime. We had fun, we smiled, and we fooled around. Thanks, everyone. This was definitely the best thing to do. This way, when Satoko suddenly dropped by, we could welcome her with our best smiles. The more I smiled, the more I felt the anxiety from this morning clearing away. Wasn't there a proverb that went something like this, fortune comes in by a merry gate? I think so. If it's true, then this old man will roll around the floor laughing 24/7. Rena thinks it's true. If you laugh every day, it'll be fun every day. Rena has a way with words. Then should we try it out? Everyone took a deep breath, then brought their faces together, locking shoulders, and then... Everyone laughed uproariously from their stomachs, trying to laugh out all the bad stuff accumulating in them. By the time our bento boxes were empty, everyone was right as rain. Having heard our friendly banter, Tomino-kun and Okumura-kun walked up and timidly spoke to us. Excuse me, Mabura-san? Sorry to interrupt your fun, but we need your help with something. They grinned dryly and scratched their heads. What could it be? Want to know how to remove the censor bars in porn magazines? By the way, don't believe what you hear about butter doing the trick. Total superstition. You can't use an eraser either. Wait, what? Seriously? That's not what we're here for, said Tomino, elbowing Okumura. Actually, our ball got caught in the gutter on the second floor. We were thinking you might be able to reach it since you're tall. I see. Asking an upperclassman for help comes with its own price, you know. I'm not cheap. You can't buy me out so easily. Tomino-kun and Okumura-kun conversed for a short time, then gave the reply. We'll give you the right to take a nap during class, Mabura-san. How does that sound? What do you mean? I can sleep during class whenever I want. Why do I need your permission for it? Oh, you know, you can't. The next time you take a nap, we'll tell Sensei about it. That's not you giving me anything. That's you. That's coercion? Extortion? I see. How sly. You little... Where did you learn to bargain like that? You also can't tell Sensei if you're dead, so... Sorry, it was just a little joke. Come on, Kei-chan, why not just cave in your underclassmen's threats? And now Mion was getting on my nerves. Suddenly it came to me, and I took Tomita-kun Okamura-kun's hands. Alright, I surrender. I'll get your ball for you, so give me all the rights to nap time, huh? Okay. Look, Mion, I now have the privilege, but you don't, do you? Tomita-kun Okamura-kun, tell Amina as soon as she falls asleep. Got it? Yeah. Ren and Rika-chan began to cackle at Keiichi-kun's victory. I wasn't sure how the ball managed to get stuck up there, but it was planted firmly in the school building's second-floor gutter. Hand me that stick. I should be able to reach it. Here we go. Erg. I took a bamboo pole and poked the ball with it. Damn, it's hard. Come on. Oh, you got it. You got it, Maburo-san. Thank you so much. The ball rolled down the gutter and fell down behind the school building. My underclassmen ran over in that direction, leaving me by myself. Mission complete, I guess. Then we hear screams and we found Satoko's corpse. Jeez, there was still a lot of time left until lunch break was over. Guess I should go back to the classroom. I'd absorb myself in a silly conversation with everyone and wait for afternoon classes. Just when I thought that, turned towards the entrance, someone suddenly called out to me. Hello there. Good day. I don't know if I've met you yet in this timeline. Sorry for bothering you during a lunch break. It was a middle-aged man I didn't know. Or maybe I'd passed him a few times, and I'd seen his face, but I didn't know him. When his half-smile deepened, something within me shuddered with fear. There was no basis for that. No reason. But I shuddered. I was somewhat confused about those emotions, not quite understanding them myself. There was one thing I could say, though. Nobody but teachers and students should be at school. This person shouldn't have been here. I felt less of a tremble and more of a sense of dread, like a brilliantly colored poisonous caterpillar were crawling across my forehead, a feeling of disgust that neither itchy nor gross could describe as the frizzly, dreadful hair rubbed against my brow. Again, I like the music. I didn't even want to see his face. I wanted to jump backwards and run away, an unpleasant feeling for which I didn't even know the cause. The other side of myself had nothing but questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you disgusted by? This is the first time you've met him. I mean, in this timeline. It's rude to hate someone for no reason. No answers were coming. I held my silence, waiting, a damp sweat running down my forehead. When he saw that, Oishi thought maybe he was being intimidating and gave me a relaxed smile. Oh, please, excuse me. I'm no one suspicious, I assure you. I'm Oishi from Okonomiya Police Department. Wait, where did I put my card? Huh? What? This is... what? He fished through various pockets and finally found his police ID, and showed it to me, grinning dryly. He may have been trying to use those clumsy-seeming actions to ease my anxiety, but I could definitely say it didn't work. Why was I this nervous? There was a reason, of course. If I wanted today to be the same as before, then today didn't need someone who hadn't been here back then. The fact that a man who wasn't here yesterday showed up today meant that today would be a different day than those days before it. That would mark the end of the fun and happy days. I gulped and erased that ominous conclusion from my mind. Calm down, Keiichi Mabura. It's just an old guy who looks kind of perverted and came from the police department. Don't go deciding that the fun times are over. He just came here because of his job. Yeah, just for his job. If he's working, then he would normally go to the teacher's lounge, right? The fact that he spoke to me, yes, it must have been to ask where it was. Are you looking for the teacher's lounge? You just have to go through the entrance, and... I didn't want to look at this man for another second, so I started pushing things along. Oishi-san, however, didn't seem to have any interest in the teacher's lounge. Oh, no. I don't have anything to do there. Could I get you to call a friend of yours, if I may be so bold? A friend? Who? A girl. Could you call Satoko Hojo-san for me? My consciousness grew faint, like I was about to pass out. Yes, my anxiety was realized. The dreadful, disgusting caterpillar was looking at me. about to crawl into my ear. Its frizzly, dreadful hair was touching my ear cavity. That's how bad it felt. Well, what did the police need with Satoko? No. It's nothing important. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be here. I just had 2 or 3 things to ask. I'd like if you could cooperate with me. Why? Why, of all people, was it Satoko? Why would a police officer come here in the middle of the day for something that wasn't important? This man was strange. I could smell it, and it smelled bad. Just a whiff of it made me want to grimace. I knew that this man couldn't possibly be here to deliver her lost wallet or anything. Basically, there's no way he's here with good news. I couldn't imagine what he needed from Satoko, but it had to be something unpleasant. My throat stung with burning pain. Burned like a parched, creviced wasteland. The wasteland broke apart deep in my throat and brought out the words from deep in my mind. You may need something from her, but I don't think Satoko needs anything from you. Could you please leave? Oshi-san probably hadn't expected that reply. He stood there surprised for a few moments. I did as well. I hadn't thought words like that could ever come out of my mouth. Things might still work out. This guy may have shown up out of the blue, but if I drove him off, maybe I could make it so that it never happened. If I could do that, then I could get back. The peace we had until yesterday, I could get it back. Nah, well, you sure are strict. Are you Satoko-san's manager, perhaps? Can I not see her without an appointment? If you just want to talk to her, shouldn't you just call her? Barging into school in the middle of the day isn't normal. Breaking through a dam would have been the perfect analogy to use. Why didn't I like this man? This man shouldn't have been here. I needed to make it so that this man wasn't here. Childish, selfish emotions bubbled up from the depths of my mind, and they each came out of my mouth just as it had been formed. The reasons for this are in Game 1, Onakankushi, the game of peanut butter jelly time. Not liking the guy was my own problem, but to say things so bluntly to him, even I thought I was crazy. Oh, you're the logical sort, aren't you? I'm not too good with people who talk like that. Oshi-san grinned and scratched at his sweaty throat. Even as he feigned stupidity, I could tell he was irritated. Hey, Keiichi Mabra, why am I looking for a fight with this old policeman here? It's not like he brought the gift of misfortune with him all wrapped up in paper, right? Right? It wasn't like he had brought a package of misfortune with him and was asking me to sign here, please. Rationally speaking, I understood all that. So then why was I so... Finally, I outlasted Oshi-san in our game of silence, and he gave a big sigh. Then he addressed a few of my female underclassmen running around nearby. Oh, excuse me, all of you. Do you have a moment? I'd like you to call Satoko Hojo if you could. My underclassmen tried to smile and reply, but they noticed the oddly stiff air atmosphere around me and seemed hesitant to give a quick answer. Is she not here? Satoko Hojo-san. Hojo-san, she stayed home today. Stayed home? His face remained smiling, but his tone was clearly one of ill humor. Such conspicuous spite caused my underclassmen, who had answered honestly, to cringe in fear. I see. Naha, dear me, I'm quite unlucky. He was smiling broadly, but the way he laughed didn't make me feel better at all. When he noticed that his laughter wasn't getting anyone else to laugh with him, he immediately stopped. So, you girls, could you tell me the name of this boy here? He grabbed the girls by the shoulders so they wouldn't run away, and crouched down to address them at eye level. The girls flinched away from the sharp, piercing light in his eyes, and in exchange for their release they didn't resist, and told him my name. I see. Keiichi's son? Mabara, is that it? He said my full name. That was all he said, and yet I couldn't help but shudder. It was like he had grabbed me by the collar, just with those words. Oh, could you be the son of the Mabara family I've heard so much about? Nah, I hear your father is a renowned artist. His works go on display twice a year in the Great Ariakia Lake Exhibition. I don't know why I said lake. Right, because America has 5 Great Lakes? Okay. Exhibition in Tokyo, don't they? I don't know what sort of fantastic pictures he creates, though. Then there's your mother. She seems intelligent, too. I heard she was a high academic achiever. She went to some girls' university, didn't she? It's amazing for someone that age to have graduated from a girls' university. Could your mother actually be the daughter of a respectable family? At least, those are the rumors, and they say she's a cold person because of it. Did you know that? She only went to the very first neighborhood association meeting, right? That's certainly no good. You can't disrespect your neighbors in a place like this. A sense of eeriness slithered up my spine. That was my first experience of true terror. I couldn't believe it felt this terrible for someone you've just met, to know everything about you already. Oishi-san clamped onto my shoulders and brought his eyes close to peer into mine. In a place like this, it would be far better not to make enemies, wouldn't it? If not... Ow! Oishi-san dug into my shoulders with inhuman strength. Gah. Then if something unexpected were to happen, you might see some drawbacks. Have you ever heard of karma? It's like how a butterfly flapping its wings can cause a tornado. Grudges born in strange places could come back to you in ways you wouldn't believe. Are grudges from other timelines leaking into the future timelines? You wouldn't like that, would you? Noises I don't know how to make. Nobody wants to have a grudge held against them. There's nothing positive about making enemies. What's the matter? Your shoulders are very stiff. Should I give you a massage? Is he still talking? See, feels good, right? Are you... Ow, 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 ow. This man wasn't just strong. It was like he knew exactly where to press to make me feel pain. God, only 4 or 5 fingers were on my shoulders, and yet the pain made me want to bend over backwards. A few of the girls from my class were pretty shaken up, but didn't seem to want to help me. They weren't sure if they should go call the teacher. As for me, I couldn't take the time to wait until the teacher got here. It hurts. Would you mind leaving things at that? You're hurting him. Thank you, Coach. I was kind of expecting Mion. I was actually about to yell for Mion. Yes, she's the one who went psycho in the last timeline, but again, I have a feeling that she's not going to go psycho this timeline. And to be fair, I'm the one who, albeit I had reasons, but still, peanut butter jelly time. Behind Oishi-san, someone. To my disbelief, it was Coach. Oh my. If it isn't Dr. Eerie. You know, this kind of makes me feel like the game Raging Loop, which also has loops and shit too. But here's the thing. The idea here is this. There's that game called Werewolf. It was made some people in Russia. It was to point out how people change differently based on roles they're in. And how even friends sitting around a table suddenly, in a non-dangerous circumstance, suddenly start to behave in a very aggressive, paranoid, and even Machiavellian, sadistic manner to each other. Even more so when it's real life and actual danger. Heck, I think popular experiments that prove this stuff, there's I think it's Stanford experiment and the Milgram experiment. Or I think that's Milgram was the idea that you can take your average person, and if an authority figure tells them to do something bad, they'll obey even if they don't want to do it. They found, surprisingly, I think about 70+% of people will just do whatever an authority figure tells them to do, even if it means killing another person. Even if the authority figure will not hurt you for disobeying. Even more so if it's, imagine how governments in the past have, coerced people into committing acts of violence. After all, at the end of the day, 1, the government can kill you. 2, if they're the ones who control resources, then if you go along with them, not only will you do better financially and have a better stake in, well, life. But also, if you go against them, then, well, you won't be able to, not only will you not receive additional help, but you'll actually be barred and, if not blackballed, from being able to get jobs or employment or education. Heck. Something I was going to say about that, but it's a struggle to remember. I can't remember. I feel like I was going to make a very good point on that. But my mind just sort of fuzzed out on me. I'm trying to remember. Religions. In the past, a lot of religions were basically hand in hand with the government. So a lot of times, it's sort of a blanket statement to begin with. That again, the religions were the government were the religions. I mean, heck, back in the Bible, giving tithes to the church, I mean, it was basically your income tax. Because both were the same back then. And that's true of most societies. And even if they weren't directly related, they were closely. Heck, even if they weren't officially, a lot of times money flows from one to the other pretty quickly. And another thing is this. Just the same, the church can influence you by, one, not only threatening to kill you a lot of times in the past, but a lot of religions will either outright threaten you with violence, or will indoctrinate you and tell you to believe a certain thing over and over to where you feel like you have to because it's just what you've been taught all your life. Or, even then, like say if you want to get married or have a family and children or own land. In a lot of societies, you had to have the blessing of a priest in order to do that, which means if you did not basically, submit to whatever religious authority was in your area, then you couldn't get married or have children or have a family or own land or have a business. And a lot of times if you submitted, not only would you be spared any sort of punishments or restrictions, but a lot of times you'd be given honor and respect, and you would receive gifts and extra status, and your life would be easier. I suppose there's a fine line between it just conforming to a societal norm, as opposed to outright just straight up, manipulation and abuse of authority. And I suppose that's the other problem is this. A lot of times, abuse is more likely by those with power, and usually those who want to abuse the authority are the ones more likely to seek it. I think that's something Machiavelli was on, is that the idea of the prince story is that usually good people are less likely to attain riches and power because a lot of those things require doing underhanded or scrupulous things to do. And because of that, the good people have less influence over society, and a lot of times they have less say in matters. Whereas the bad people are more likely to take advantage of every shortcut available and every underhanded option, thus giving them more wealth and power and more control over, policy, at which point the bad people can change policy to be more and more in their favor. And because then, society then changes in flow with what bad people want, because the bad people are the ones willing to do bad things for power, and they're the ones who are drawn to it, that are more actively desiring of it. Like a good person, they're less likely to seek out power or fame and stuff like that, because why would they care? It doesn't matter to them. And yet the people most likely to abuse those things are the ones most likely to seek them out because it is what they desire. So it's kind of funny. The people most likely to abuse power are the ones most likely to seek it. And those who would actually be, most responsible and noble and merciful and compassionate with power are actually the ones least likely to go after it. I don't know. Yeah, that's enough bullshit on my part. Oh, right, I was saying the roles of people. The Stafford experiment. The Milgram experiment proved that people obey authority. The Stafford experiment, it proved that if you took a bunch of college kids and put them in roles of prisoners and security guards, even though they were all friends, the ones who were security guards started to abuse their authority and even become violent and sadistic to their friends, to the point that the teachers and authorities had to step in and stop the experiment because they had no idea it was going to get that dark. And if they hadn't stopped in, well, eventually people were going to start dying. The same thing true with this. All of us in this game are actually decent people. Every single person here, the coach, the detective, my friends, myself, my parents, the teachers, the old people, the photographer guy, and the nurse who I haven't met yet. I would say we have yet to actually meet anyone in this game who is actually a bad person. But each of them, like in a game of chess or shogi, each of them has a different role. Same in werewolf. You have a person designated as a werewolf or a witch, whereas you have the innocent villagers, and sometimes you have roles like badger or snake or spider. And a lot of times at each round, all of the people get a piece of paper at random telling them who they are, and no one else knows who each other is, but you know who you are. Except in this situation, we don't know who each individual person is. But I'm saying this. Imagine that all of these characters are like pieces in chess. Most of the people are pawns. In some versions of the story, Oshi might be a pawn as well. He might be a knight, he might be a bishop, he might be a rook, he might be the king, might be the queen, he might be a wizard. My point is this. In the game of werewolf, you have a couple people designated as werewolf as the people trying to kill everyone else. Most of the people are designated as just innocent villagers with no authority. Some people get extra roles like a snake, where they can try to investigate somebody. Badger is a villager that's on the side of the werewolves. Spiders or nurse. Heck, we played Nausea. That was kind of a game like that too. It's kind of like Imposter. You guys remember Among Us? Who here has heard of the game Among Us? It's kind of like that. It's just a bunch of friends playing, and who's the imposter that time? But in this situation, it's real life, basically, albeit we're talking about an air quotes video game. But for these people, it's real life. We're basically playing a game of imposter. Except, in some versions, the person actually is replaced by something not human. In other versions, the human in question has their mind warped in some way, either by malice or paranoia or any sort of emotional trait that is likely to make you behave without thinking or thinking too much. Everyone's like, what do you mean? Take Anakin Skywalker. There was nothing wrong in him worrying about the future or well-being of the people he cares about. But in times of tense situations, he allowed his fear and worry to cloud his judgment and to make him act impulsively or obsessively. Same here. There's nothing wrong with Oshi-san investigating stuff, but one could say maybe feelings of compulsion or obsession or impulsiveness. Compulsion, impulsion, impulsiveness. Main point is this. Anakin Skywalker is basically the same as many of the Greek heroes in stories from 3,000 years ago of ancient Greece. All of the heroes were certainly strong, capable individuals, but they all had a tragic flaw and usually had something terrible happen that resulted in their fall. And that certainly applies to Anakin Skywalker. He was the hero and he fell. The purpose of people in stories like that, other than it being just a more interesting story, is it's supposed to be a lesson for people to learn from. You're supposed to be able to read a story about someone making a mistake or doing something wrong or allowing their emotions or circumstances to get the better of them. You're supposed to read that and you're supposed to learn from it. After all, I imagine if during the time that Anakin was waiting in the council chambers and he was right about to go, to find Mace Windu, what if then time just froze for him and all of a sudden there was a VCR player in front of him, if anyone remembers what a VCR player is, and has VHS tapes labeled The Phantom Menace, The Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. And time would not resume until he watched all 3 movies. If after watching that, including the aftermath of what happens after he goes to, air quotes, help Mace Windu, what then decision would he make? What would he do? Would he just wait in the council chambers? Would he still rush to Mace Windu, but would he then realize that Palpatine was manipulating his fears and worries? Would he, not react impulsively, being pushed by his extreme emotions to make such a drastic decision as cutting off Mace Windu's arm? Main point is this. There is no fault in having feelings like paranoia or fear or worry or sadness. These are good emotions, even anger. There is no problem with having anger. Anger is a good emotion. The problem is if you can't control it. The problem is if it makes you act impulsively or makes you act in an obsessive manner or causes you to become sadistic. All emotions are healthy. All emotions are good. All emotions should have ways of being vented properly. Especially if things are more frustrating for you. You should have ways to vent your anger in ways that are healthy. And I would even say that even if you're living the most happy, carefree, stress-free life in the world, it would still be okay to feel feelings like anger and sadness at times. And I would still think that even if you lived in an absolute utopia and life was heaven for you, and you had everything in the world you could ever want, I would think it would still be healthy to feel feelings like anger from time to time. But then you should use that anger, whether it be to work toward a goal, or even just play a video game and yell and cuss at a video game. There is nothing wrong with any emotion you have. And certainly no emotion should be completely bottled up. If you have a lot of anger, then you should let it out. But you should only let it out in ways that are emotionally healthy for you and healthy for everyone around you. You shouldn't allow them to cause you to do anything wrong or hurtful to anyone, whether it be yourself or anyone else. And you shouldn't take out your frustrations on people who certainly don't deserve it. But I would say even if you're the most happiest person in the world, It's okay to feel sad sometimes. It's okay to feel angry sometimes or scared. But you should have control. You shouldn't keep everything bottled up, nor should you try to pretend you don't have those emotions. But you should certainly vent them in ways that are beneficial to you and are of no harm to you or anyone else. You should try to have a balanced and complete emotional sense of self to not only understand yourself better, but to also feel more alive and to also feel more adaptable in circumstances where bad things do happen. Because sometimes there are things that happen that are very stressful, and you might be expected to react very quickly in very possibly dangerous situations. By being more emotionally healthy and having a proper venting of emotions of every color of the rainbow, you will at least have a better chance at having a good dice roll for how you'll react when the time comes. And even then, there's a time and a place for everything. Odysseus said it himself in the Odyssey. Anger is a good thing, but it's an easy thing to be angry. What's difficult is to be angry at the right time, at the right person, for the right reason, and in the right way. Simply put, violence, there is a time and place for it. And there are times and circumstances where violence is good, namely self-defense. But main point is this, part of being an adult is just knowing when is the appropriate time and how. And the problem with that is, one, during those circumstances your emotions will be very strong, and not only will you be possibly overwhelmed by emotions, but also there are many different opinions on this discussion, on how people should react and how people should talk. And of course there's different circumstances and times to talk and behave a certain way. But the point is this, there's lots of people that disagree very vehemently on what's an appropriate reaction. Heck, I'm a very non-aggressive person. I've only ever hurt anyone in self-defense or in defense of another. And yet even then, I've been criticized by a lot of people that I'm a bad person for not being violent enough. But it is what it is. I am who I am. I am not the kind of person that's going to behave the way other people want me to behave. And by that I mean, like heck, I got bullied a lot in school. And I certainly did criticize that people looking back on that stuff that, okay, I should have been much more aggressive. But at the end of the day, it's like, to what end? I mean, what? To put someone in the hospital? To possibly even hurt someone seriously? I just don't see that as a thing I'd want to do. And even then, of what benefit would it be to me? How would things go any better? Heck, it's like with many things, especially with people in authority, whether it be, like take just the way people tell you, oh, you need to behave this way or do that, or you need to accomplish this goal. But at the end of the day is this, they criticize you saying you should behave one way. But even if you were to behave the way they tell you to, they'd draw a fault with that and say you should behave the way that you would have in the other timeline. And yes, I'm trying to make comparisons between this video game and, well, real life criticisms I'm sure we've all heard from people. At the end of the day is this, Everyone's got to take the time to think about things and decide what they think is, well, right and who they are as a person. Not everyone's going to agree with that stuff. And not everyone's going to agree with who you are as a person. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the other people think. What does matter is you take the time to actually decide what it is that you want and what you think is right. And above all, not do anything that harms yourself or others. I guess the main thing I'm just trying to say is this. Each loop, each of these characters in and of themselves are good people. But they're being given different roles. And Oyashiro-sama can be influencing their minds. Almost like Oyashiro-sama is a satellite in the sky, beaming things directly into their heads. And everyone's like, that's an odd conspiracy theory joke. And I'm like, I'm making a reference to the game Chaos Head Noah. Also, it's also a reference to the visual novel video game AI Somnium Files, which I've talked about a few times. And that game is having a third game, technically a sequel of a sequel, that comes out this summer. I did one part of it of the first game on a Let's Play for the channel. I platinumed the first game on the PlayStation years and years ago. But the third game should be coming out this summer. I'm just saying this, each of these characters, and of course, there's lots of things that just, each character is behaving very differently. They're the same people, but they're taking on much more, like this guy is taking on a much more antagonistic role in every way. And I'll tell you this, I can understand him coming here to ask about things, but the part where he's putting his arms on someone still in school and is squeezing hard enough to cause them physical pain, I feel that counts as abusive. What do you guys think? But each of the characters, like I said, it's roulette in this game. Each of the characters takes turns being more positive and more negative. I still say that's perhaps the greatest thing about the human race, and it's something that AI will share in common with us, and that is free will, as well as a wide range of emotional reactions and informational experiences through our lives that we can draw connections to. Point being is this. Humans can be anything. Hypothetically then, if true sentient AI ever exists, then an AI computer could have is just a vast array of personality potential as a human would. And even then, that's 8 billion humans, and even then, each of those humans have lived lives, changed over the course of their lives, and their personalities could change given different circumstances or tweaking. And then, of course, add in all the fictional characters from every video game and anime and story, and even the old stories from Greek legends and myths. If you take every fictional character ever created and consider their personalities as possible outcomes for an AI as well. I would still say, though, if an AI were to be truly sentient, it would need to have some way to mimic human hormones, like things like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, those chemical responses that take place in the human brain, as well as produced by human organs. an AI would have to have some way of replicating that and actually feeling it themselves in order to actually truly have the same level as human intelligence as a human. And even then, humans change over time. We grow. No, sometimes we might lose a little bit of IQ, whether it be from physical damage to the brain or, some people drink, some people get concussions. Sometimes it's illness. Heck, both humans and machines share that in common. Entropy is the concept of a machine breaking down over time. Humans, granted our bodies can heal certain things, but no matter what, we're breaking down over time. There's certain injuries we can't recover from. Same thing with the brain. People get Alzheimer's and Parkinson's all the time. Even cancer and tumors. Same way with AI. Machines and programs, even purely digital programs, over time become corrupted, even more so if malware or viruses become involved, or an incompatible program gets put into it, or heck, while I am somebody who strongly supports the idea of a modding community for video games, I do understand some mods are just inherently broken. And some mods, even if they're not broken, can cause unexpected glitches and crashes in a video game. But even then, a digital program, even if it's perfect, over time will degrade. Heck, computers have a thing called cascade failure. Hypothetically, isn't that kind of the thing about the AIs in Halo was going on about? I will say this, I do want a new Halo game. I wanted to play more like Halo 1, or Halo 2, or Halo 3, or maybe a mix of the three, I don't know. Just saying I preferred those. It certainly has been a while since we were last in touch. Discomforted by Coach's sudden appearance, Oishi laughed scornfully. The vice on my shoulders, however, remained as strong as ever. Never mind the greetings. Please, just let go of Mabura-kun. Oishi-san smiled daringly and glared straight at Coach. He didn't release me in the meantime, of course. I was just thinking of stopping by your place later, Doctor. You always seem so busy and we can never have a good chat. Yes, if you want, I'll chat with you all you like, but please be sure to have a warrant first. After all, otherwise I can't refuse to go voluntarily into questioning. Coach didn't display a shred of the weird behavior he'd shown at the baseball game and barbecue. Again, there's a time and place for things. That's the thing. That's the main thing I'm saying is this. There is no bad human emotion. Now, there's certain severities of things. Obviously, in of itself, anxiety is not bad. The problem is if you have way too much of it. There are certainly people out there that have way too much anxiety, and that's bad. But not having any at all would be bad as well. Anxiety in of itself is not a bad emotion. In fact, it's a good emotion. There are no bad emotions. All emotions are good. The problem is, if you have too much of it, it can cause you discomfort and possibly make your life unpleasant. But all emotions are good and all emotions should exist. But some shouldn't, obviously, and some may increase in severity from time to time. But for the most part, it shouldn't be very often that they increase to even to moderate severity, and they should never increase to an extreme severity. Basically, it has to be moderation. And I'd say if there's good and bad, there should be more good than bad. So it shouldn't just be even. And of course, certain emotions shouldn't be up even at a say anxiety. I would say everyone should have an anxiety level about here, and occasionally their anxiety should go up to here. But it should also come back down. Your anxiety should never be zero. At the same time, your anxiety should never be up here, and your anxiety shouldn't stay up here all the time. Your anxiety, a normal anxiety level should just be here with an occasional bump, there at highest, and like that. At no point should your anxiety be up here, and at no point should it be staying up here. Like, your anxiety shouldn't even just be like doing this. It should be lower and just going up on occasion. You should spend more time in lower areas than higher. But of course, you should never have 0. Because then, just saying, there has to be. But of course, everyone's different. He stared steadily at Oishi and fought so that he would release me. His chances were terribly bad, of course. Compared to the relaxed Oishi, Coach seemed like he was being defeated mentally. It made sense. Coach had a somewhat narrow stature, but Oishi's body was packed with muscles. It wasn't even a contest, but Coach was fighting for me without taking a step back. Beads of sweat formed on his face, and though he paled, he was fighting for my sake. Here's the thing. In the first game, this guy was a completely sympathetic character who had no aggression toward me at all. Was actually my biggest ally, who was completely on my side and was non-aggressive to people. In the second one, he was a bit manipulative. He wasn't outright against me, but he wanted to use me as a tool against Mion. In this one, he's outright, he's outright antagonistic. And in later versions of the story, he goes completely psycho and starts shooting people with his gun. It's almost like we're all doing a Shakespeare play, and we're having turns just what kind of role we're taking. Like, oh, this time you play the villain. This time you're the side character. This time you're the main character. Suddenly, Oishi laughed and let go of my shoulders. My body exhausted, I fell right on my backside. Maburo-kun, are you alright? Damn it, ow. I rubbed my shoulders over Oishi and latched onto them. The pain from falling over went away quickly, but this pain was lingering. Are you alright, Maburo-kun? This is terrible. Shit, ow, ow. I was just giving him a little massage. Maburo-san, aren't you over-exaggerating a bit? Boys have got to learn to man up. I wanted to retort, but I couldn't think of anything witty. Can you lift your shoulders? Are they in pain? If you're really hurt, then you should have a proper checkup. Let's just go to the nurse's office. Coach lent me his shoulder, and I walked beside him. What an exaggeration. I'd be the last person to do any sort of permanent damage, right? I am still an active police officer, you know. Come, I don't know what you needed to be here for, but if you're finished, then please leave. I'm going to complain about this directly to the chief, so please keep that in mind. Oh, that's a problem, ain't it? Oshan waved his hand sarcastically, pivoted around, and headed to the car parked by the school gates. And without turning back around, he got in and started the engine. Damn it. Who the hell was he? Damn it. He's a detective named Kurado Oishi, and a hooligan. Everyone in the village hates him. Maburo-san, you should be careful too. I'm not even going to try to say it again. Oishi. Just like I thought, my gut instinct wasn't wrong. He would be the one to bring on happiness, misfortune, something that would ruin our peace. Shit, I won't accept it. Ollie's fun day can't possibly end just because some guy like him showed up. Also, remember how I said like all the characters, including Oishi-san, are technically good people? I still stick by that. But in this timeline, he's much more antagonistic and an asshole. But the person that he was discussing in that tip area, the uncle of Satoko, who was probably beating her at the moment, and would beat his wife and was stealing from the mob and the government. That's a bad person. He's bad in every timeline. He's just outright a bad person. Period. He's just a bad person. But then again, I would imagine most people that are probably, beating women or children are bad people in every timeline they exist in. I won't accept it. Coach seemed to be familiar with the school, so he brought me to the nurse's office without much trouble. The girls in my class came along as well, looking worried. Our teacher and the principal, having noticed the disturbance, came to see what was the matter. Mabura-kun. What's wrong? Are you hurt? Well, there was this weird man in the schoolyard just now, and Mabura-san. Coach gently interrupted the girls trying to explain. No, it looks like he just fell and twisted something. I think he's all right, but I wanted to make sure. If it's fine with you, I'll borrow the nurse's office for a bit. Please do, Dr. Irie. The principal gave him a deep bow. It looked like the coach was acquainted with the adults at the school. He slid open the doors to the nurse's office, but there wasn't a nurse in there or anything, I'd figured. I'd never seen anyone but Chie and Sensei and the principal working here. Coach didn't seem to mind the fact that there was no nurse and quickly made his way into the nurse's office. He instructed me to sit down and started washing his hands in the sink. Oh, I get it. He's the coach of the baseball boys team. He must be pretty used to treating wounds with first aid. Could you show me where it was? Are you still in pain? No, it doesn't hurt at all anymore. I'm fine, really. I rolled up my shirt and showed him my shoulder. No bruise, not even nail marks. And yet it hurt so much that I thought my shoulders would be crushed. Even the pain had disappeared without a trace. It hurts so much, but there isn't a single bruise. It just means he's used to doing that. Used to it, huh? The next time you meet, don't provoke him. Nothing good will come of making him angry. If you go home with a uniformed policeman by your side, your family won't like that, will they? Well, you're right. Still, what happened? Why did you end up in a fight with him? He came up and said he needed something from Satoko. Huh? Satoko-chan. Coach's gaze lowered and his expression clouded a bit. Somehow that gesture seemed to be saying Oishi-san was bound to come to Satoko and did, and that it was no laughing matter. Coach fell silent in thought. Quietly he took a compress out of the first aid kit and put it on me. Does he still plan on clinging to Satoko-chan? He is a persistent man, I'll give him that. Like a snake. Coach mumbled to himself. Cling? Does that mean Oishi-san plans to go to Satoko's place a lot? Coach didn't answer, but the lack of a denial served well enough. What on earth did the policeman, probably a detective or something, need from Satoko? What mistake had led a detective to cling to the sweetly smiling Satoko? Mabura-san? Oh, right. You just moved here, didn't you? Yes, I did, but... Have you ever heard anything about Oyashiro-sama's curse and about Satoko-chan? Well, I knew a few things about it, certainly. Satoko's parents were damn proponents, and their accidental death was because of the curse. You mean that? Coach smiled thinly and dryly, so you know, he said, dropping his gaze. If I recalled correctly, there was an accident on a viewing platform at the public park she'd gone to with her family, and her parents died. And then it was just big brother and little sister, and then she was with Rika-chan, and, when they lost their parents, Satoko-chan and her brother Satoshi-kun were given to their uncle and his wife to care for them. Oh, was that so? Their parents died in the accident. Satoshi ran away, leaving only Satoko to start living with Rika-chan. I'd known that much, but this was the first time I'd heard they had been brought to their uncle and aunt. Their uncle was Satoko-chan's father's younger brother. Unfortunately, neither of the couple were people deserving of respect. Coach normally picked his words politely, so when he came out and said they didn't deserve respect, it really made me wonder what kind of people they were. As soon as Satoko-chan's parents came out in support of the dam, their uncle and aunt took on a lot of the shame in the village as well. They would never have welcomed in Satoko-chan and Satoshi-kun. I've heard that, for the siblings, it was a very rough life. Bit by bit, Coach told me about the numerous agonies the Hojo siblings had suffered at their uncle's house. As their guardians, their aunt and uncle sucked up everything belonging to their immediate family. Satoko and Satoshi were crammed into a small room, and their lives were laden with things that were miserable both for their bodies and minds. In the first place, since apparently their aunt and uncle weren't on good terms, there was no end to their fighting, and as if in revenge for that, Whenever they saw Satoko or Satoshi's face, they would always find fault with them, scold them, yell at them, strike them, and take away meals as punishment. I still shudder to think about it. You've never known any Satoko, but the energetic and healthy one now. So you probably couldn't imagine her face being so deathly pale, a girl always standing dazed in the shade of the trees. I couldn't imagine it, and I didn't want to. That was how I honestly felt. But at the very least, Satoko wasn't like that anymore. She may have had a miserable life in the past, but it was different now. Something happened to change that life. Last year, on the night of Tatarigoroshi festival, their aunt died. She was beaten to death with a baseball bat by a drug addict. Rumors spread of the curse having killed an enemy of the village on the night of the festival. This death wasn't a simple homicide either. They whispered that it was actually Oyashiro-sama's curse. As I burp. A few days later, the deviant arrested for drug use confessed to further offenses, and the incident was resolved. However, though it was resolved, no one knew whether the part about it being Oyashiro-sama's curse was true or not. Their uncle was part of Hinamizawa, after all. He apparently grew incredibly frightened of Oyashiro-sama's curse and went into hiding. From what I've heard, he's staying with a lover somewhere in Okinomiya who is dead now. Also dead from the curse. And Satoko and Satoshi, were they released? Their aunt died, and their uncle fled. Basically, the uncle is a bad person who doesn't deserve to live under any circumstance in any timeline, but it also doesn't help that the fucking super ghost deity parasite worms are also messing with him. It's almost like if you take an already bad person who doesn't really deserve to live, and then give them psychosis and make them violent. Yeah. Then again, I guess the same could be said if you had an already bad person and then suddenly had them do meth. It probably doesn't help. It probably makes that worse. Probably makes them less, I don't know, desirable people to be around. And Satoko and Satoshi, were they released? Their aunt died and their uncle fled. There was nobody left to torment the siblings then, but, as if picking up their torch, the man started showing up with alarming tenacity. That man. Then Coach lowered his voice just a bit as if being aware of his surroundings. I mean Oishi. Oishi? The guy from before. The events that occurred came back to me. The hard-to-describe ominous sensation I'd felt from him came back to me. He's a little strange. The chain of incidents surrounding Oishi-sama's curse have all been solved, and yet he alone doesn't want to accept that. Accept it. The incidents were all solved, and the detective supposedly with the police department didn't accept that. People say that something bad will surely happen to those he gets close to. In Hinamizawa, they think Oishi is Oyashiro-sama's. Kei-chan! The door flew open with a rattle and Mion came rushing in. Actually, the way she would have answered, Kei-chan! Kei-chan, you're okay? I heard you were hurt. Just saying, yay, Mion, I appreciate you care about me. I'm taking a lot in right at the moment. Processing. Confused. Ren and Rika-chan came running in a few steps behind her, and then Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun and a few more of our classmates. Kei-chan, did Oishi-san do something to you? He was an asshole? Are you hurt? Calm down, Mion-san. He's not injured. I only gave him a compress just in case. Keiichi-kun, are you really okay? Okay? Everyone was saying stuff about how you were being strangled. I mean, my shoulders are close to my neck, and it probably was making it hard to breathe. I mean, technically the reason you die on crucifixion is from suffocation. Because the way your arms are spread like that, it makes it hard to breathe and your ribs don't really expand properly. And everyone's saying I understand your ribs aren't exactly moving that much, but it makes a difference. At one point I tried to use a microphone, and I tried putting duct tape around my chest to hold it in place, and I quickly found out that it was making it difficult to breathe, and I had to remove it because I was starting to, not be able to breathe, even though, nothing was covering my mouth in any way, and I wasn't doing anything super strenuous. I was just sitting, but just having a layer of duct tape around my chest, albeit thinly, it was difficult to breathe, and I had to remove it. Otherwise, I was probably going to pass out. I'm just saying, the reason you die from crucifixion is suffocation. You can't breathe very well at that angle with your arms like that. Heck, same thing with usually when you would have those, when the people would get burned in the past on a bonfire. Yes, you suffer burns, but usually the people die of suffocation first before they die from the burns. Heck, it's like if you're in a burning building, you need to stay low to the ground because smoke goes up. There's a lot of times if people don't know what they're doing, if they're in a burning building, if you suddenly stand up, you'll pass out because even though it's very sudden, the drastic removal of air, especially if you breathe in stuff that isn't air, I mean, it's still technically gas, but technically, I think the normal oxygen content for the air around us is 26%. The rest of it's like hydrogen and CO2. Simply put, your lungs use oxygen and convert it to carbon dioxide. But the other thing is this, the reason why you can hold your breath is because your body doesn't use all the oxygen. That's also why you could be in a small area and be breathing for a while. Granted, you use more oxygen when you breathe harder and are more exertive. But the main thing is your lungs don't consume all of the oxygen in the air you breathe. That's partly why you can hold your breath the way you do. But there's also an issue of this. If there's too little oxygen in the air, well, you'll die. And if you breathe in a lot of stuff that isn't, compatible with lungs, you will immediately pass out. The other thing is this. If you breathe in air that has too much oxygen, that can also kill you or cause changes to your mental state. Depends on how elevated it is. Now, of course, some people use oxygen tanks, but that's because their body's less efficient at processing the oxygen, so they have to have a higher concentration. But the thing is this, if you are a perfectly healthy person and you suddenly use an oxygen tank, well, it can have varying results. It could have no effect at all, or it could make you feel very ill. I suppose it's true of a lot of things, like blood sugar level, blood pressure. These are things that if they're too high or too low, are very bad. It's kind of like temperature, Too high or too low is bad. It has to be a certain level. Heck, I still remember, the story of Alice in Wonderland. It starts off with Alice hanging out with her sister reading a book, and then she's like, oh, I feel dizzy and stupid. And it's like, you're having a heat stroke. You need fluids, you need to get in the shade, you need to get out of the sun. But that's what's happening. It's heat exhaustion. Alice in Wonderland, at least by that, of course, some people could say it's also a drug trip, or that it's actually another world, or something supernatural, or something psychological occurring. But it also could be said that it's, heat exhaustion. What's my stance? I think it's all of the above. I think it's not just one simple explanation. I think all of them are contributing factors. It's kind of like if you look at history. People could say, oh, this supernatural thing can be explained by this completely normal scientific thing. And my stance is, it's both. I think a lot of things can be explained by a scientific explanation, but they can also be explained by supernatural. And I think in most situations, it's not an either or. I think a lot of times it's both things at the same time. I think a lot of times things that happen have both a scientific and a supernatural explanation. I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive. Calm down, Rena. He just squeezed my shoulders really hard. See, there's not even a bruise. Meep. I do appreciate you guys would care if I was dead, so thank you. Jeez. And again, she's obviously displaying anger, but one, this is an appropriate response. One, if anything, she has every right to be even more angry than she is. So one, this is a time where feelings of anger, or heck, if Mion was out there, if Mion just suddenly ran up to Oishi and punched him in the face or kicked him in the balls, I'd be completely okay with that, and I would be completely understanding of that. And I would think that, she'd be completely in her right. Like, if Mion... Like, here's the thing. If you were Mion and you saw your friend Keiichi Mabura in the situation he was in, would you run up and kick Oishi-san in the balls? Would you punch him in the face? Would you jump on the back of his neck and start trying to choke him? Would you pick up like a fucking wooden plank and hit him in the back? And just start, or hit him in the back of the knee or something? It's just two things. And again, that would be completely justified in my opinion. Like, here's the thing. Obviously, anger is an emotion that can lead to bad things. But here's the thing. One, it'd be very bad if a person wasn't physically capable of feeling anger. And two, there are times where feeling anger is appropriate. If anything, she has every right to be even more angry than she is. And finally is this. I am happy at her anger. Why? Because she's my friend. And she's showing that she cares about me. She is angry because somebody mistreated me, because somebody hurt me, because somebody was being disrespectful to me. And they're displaying this anger towards somebody that mistreated me. So I appreciate this. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want her to, run up to Oishi and attack him and then get, fucking shot or something. Because I care about my friend and don't want her to get hurt. But the main point is this. This is actually a completely appropriate response. It's actually good that she's angry here. And if she had been out there and she chose to be violent against Oishi-san, well, that would actually be a good thing. Again, Lunar D8 is not condoning or advocating for people listening to this to be violent. But I am saying that, use common sense. Use your own discretion. After all, you probably shouldn't be listening to me. I'm just some crazy guy on the internet. So, the last person you probably should take advice from is some YouTuber like me, let alone one that doesn't make any money from this channel, and someone who's a complete failure in every facet of his life. I mean, let's be clear. I'm a completely worthless person. I'm a loser. I'm an otaku. I'm a weeb. I am nothing. I am nobody. I am no one. I am worthless, and I am a complete failure at everything in life. I am probably not someone you should take advice from. But I will say this. Her anger here is completely appropriate, and I see nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Even if she had went up to Oishi-san and kicked him in the fucking nuts and beat him down with a fucking baseball bat, I would see nothing wrong with that. And I would feel that she would deserve no punishment at all for it. And this is good that this is appropriate. This is good for her to be angry. More importantly is this. I appreciate it. She is my friend. And she is expressing that she's angry at how I was treated. That she's angry because someone she cares about was hurt or mistreated. So not only is her anger appreciated, not only is her anger appropriate, but it's appreciated. That one, first off, I see absolutely nothing wrong with her anger. But two, I see it as a good thing. If anything, I would see it as, I would think that there would be something wrong if she wasn't angry like this. I would feel like, does she not care about me? And heck, let's take Mion from the second game. Yes, it was very inappropriate and excessive for her to do the things she did because, in the game, I mean, she murdered everyone. And then, fell down a tunnel and broke her neck. But I'm saying this. As an enemy, as the person that this anger is being directed towards, certainly something I would consider, something that I would feel not only very uncomfortable with, but something to be very fearful of. That being the person who is the object that is being glared at, like obviously she's looking at the situation, but she's not angry at me. You know, and it's not semantics, that's more so just talking about how. But main point is this. If I had been the person that this anger was directed towards, I would feel very fearful and not okay. Especially the Mion from the previous game, who was, murdering people. Very, very badly. Like, like butchering them sadistically and torturing them. Obviously, bad stuff. Especially if I'm the one in the crosshairs. But this anger, this vitriol, this hatred, this malicious intent, this killing instinct, it's not being directed at me, but being directed at someone because of me. It's being directed at a person who is an enemy. I suppose it's the difference between, say, if you're somewhere and someone were to point a shotgun at you, as opposed to if you're somewhere and someone's charging at you with a knife, and someone points the shotgun at the person charging at you with a knife. In both situations, the shotgun is a very fearsome, formidable, lethal weapon, at which point Mion, I would consider her vitriol right here to be very lethal. But there's a difference between that lethality being directed toward me or being directed in my protection. And here's the thing, not only is her anger appropriate, but also is the fact that she's doing it because she's concerned about me, because she cares about me. Heck, the whole discussion she was having with Shion that she's angry about because she's worried that Shion's going to take her friend away. It's a bit of jealousy and stuff to a degree, but it's also the fact that I'm important to her and she doesn't want me taken away from her. Nor does she want to be seen as replaceable. But in this situation is this. Somebody was disrespectful to me, someone mistreated me, someone hurt me, and someone was a danger to me. And she cares about me. So in this circumstance, not only is it completely appropriate that she's angry like this, but I appreciate it. I'm glad that she cares. I'm glad that I mean enough to her that she would be angry about me, being hurt. I'm glad that I, matter, that I'm not disposable or replaceable, that I'm not just someone that's just casually there and not important. I'm glad that to Mion, I'm someone worth protecting. I'm someone worth caring about. I'm someone worth, directing this vitriol and anger at anyone who would dare hurt me or threaten to harm her, her precious best friend Kei-chan. Keiichi Mabara is so important to her that she would be driven to have this completely appropriate emotional response out of concern for my well-being and my mistreatment. So I'm just saying, I appreciate Mion-san in this situation. She is a good friend. And in this circumstance, I feel very thankful and very grateful that she is my friend. Mion would certainly make a fearsome opponent, but she makes a wonderful, incredible, great ally. She's somebody you would never want to fight against, but for someone to be on your side, it's hard to think of anything more reassuring. I'm just saying this. Her response, her emotion in this situation is completely appropriate. And I appreciate it. And it means a lot to me. And I want to give her a hug. And that's the thing. The fact that she has this angry outburst, emotional response in regard to the person who would be angry toward me, but also that she can be calm and understanding with me. And perhaps also be friendly, affectionate, and give me a hug. Albeit we're not romantic with each other. It'd be completely platonic. But I would imagine that if me and Mian were in a situation that we were romantic with each other, then I would expect all of these emotions being displayed, both the positive ones of affection toward me, but also this anger toward anyone that would mistreat me. I would expect it to be magnified. Simply put, this emotional response is because of how close we are as friends. I would imagine if we were more than friends and romantic with each other, I would imagine that she would love me even more. To the point that I would imagine that her anger at my mistreatment would be far, far greater than it is now. Because I mean that much more to her. Sorry if I'm just going on a diatribe. I'm just saying this. Not only is it completely appropriate, this anger that she has, but I appreciate it. I would say more than words can say, but I've been trying to do so. But I feel like the words I've been using don't even express a fraction of how much I appreciate my friend caring about me. And that I'm important to her. So thank you, Mian-san. Geez, what the heck were you all doing? We're friends, right? Why were you just standing around? Why didn't you help K-chan? I don't know who's talking right now. Oh, okay. You're berating the younger people. I don't blame them. They're not really in a position of power. They were scared too. So I don't blame them. That being said, this also brings up the point of, you're all friends, why didn't you help him? This makes me think that, were you actually there? I think Mian-san would have actually ran up and kicked Oishi-san in the fucking nuts and then started beating him with a fucking bat until he was dead. And I'll tell you this. Completely appropriate. And still appreciated. But the fact that you're so worried and concerned about me, thank you, Mian. I appreciate it very, very much. Mian yelled at our classmates, baring her fangs. Tomita-kun and the others hung their heads in silence. Quit it, Mian. Tomita-kun and the others weren't even there. Stop blaming them. Damn it. Oishi. Mian kicked the floor of her heel a few times, her temper running hot. Our teacher over here in the commotion arrived as well. Hey, come on, everyone. Don't make so much noise in the nurse's office. President, take everyone and leave, please. Come on, everyone. Let's get going. Keiichi-kun is fine. You too, Mi-chan. Mian was letting her emotions get the best of her. Serena stepped in instead and led everyone out of the nurse's office. The detective from Okinomiya Station... How the fuck do you say that, Oishi? It looked like the first impression I'd gotten from him hadn't been mistaken. Satoko's absence had been amplified the vague apprehensions I'd felt since yesterday, and Oishi's appearance basically sealed the deal. All right, I'll get going. I originally came here for Chie-sensei. Ah, so you had something to do here. Sorry for causing you trouble. Don't be so humble, he said, smiling easily. There was a side benefit to all this. I was lucky enough to experience so much of your soft self-excel, Mahabara-kun. I will say this. It definitely sucked in the first game, feeling that the entire village was against me. But in this situation, feeling that the entire village has my fucking back, that's cool. Unfortunately, I'm still pretty sure this is the timeline where Satoko's uncle beats me to death with a baseball bat. So, that sucks. Being beaten to death with a baseball bat is very inconvenient. Hafu, with the usual, for Coach anyway, parting words, he instead continued. Please excuse me, you weren't wounded badly, but please avoid putting pressure on your shoulders or anything along those lines. If you get a high fever or it starts to swell, contact me right away, okay? I don't think it will happen, though. Oh, that's right, Coach. Before everyone came in, you were going to say something. How about what people think Oishi is to Oyashiro-sama-san? And he was about to leave the nurse's office. Coach placed a hand on the door and stopped. Right. They think he's Oyashiro-sama's servant. They're just bad-mouthing him, though. Oyashiro-sama's servant? Do you know about the serial freak deaths incidents that occur in Hinamizawa every year on the night of Watanagashi Festival, otherwise known as Oyashiro-sama's curse? What freak deaths? What? Now that I've thought about it, I did seem to remember overhearing Mion and some of the class talking about like ghost story. On the festival day in June, one person would always die, and another person would be spirited away, but they seem to call it demoning away here. What a fine story that was. I figured they made it up to scare me, but it was true. And the very first time they tried to hide it from me completely. I don't have any idea who first suggested this, but at some point everyone started calling Oyashiro-sama's servant. Why? Because the rumors go that he decides the sacrifices for the curse every year. Whenever June came around, Oishi would start paying frequent visits to Hinamizawa. Because Oishi had been person that questioned most of the dead or disappeared people. 4 years ago, it was known that the victim of the dismemberment rumored to be the sacrifice had been seeing Oishi's numerous times leading up to the incident. The sacrifice 3 years ago were Satoko's parents. Right before their accidental deaths, Oishi had been apparently visited at home. The one who disappeared 2 years ago was Rika-chan's mother. And again, people know that before she vanished, Oishi had been talking to her extremely vigorously. The one who disappeared last year was Satoko's older brother, Satoshi. Satoshi, too, had apparently been approached by Oishi many times before he vanished. And then this time, Oishi was trying to contact Satoko? This isn't a freaking joke. There are rumors, Mabara-san. There's just some rumors to that effect. I hadn't said that because the rumors Oishi being Yoshiro-sama's servant contacted someone's foreshadowing who he sacrificed that year. It was because the ominous hatred I felt toward Oishi was becoming more substantiated, more real. Today, Satoko. She was absent today, wasn't she? Wait, really? That looked like news to Coach. I had thought he might know why Satoko was absent today, but... Then I'll get going. You should go back to the others and put their minds at ease. You're right, I will. Clatter. Coach left the nurse's office and headed towards the teacher's lounge. You have received new tips, research notes. Oishi's post memo. Better left untold. Learned Satoko's secret. Well, everybody, I'll see you around. Sorry for the long video. Meep.